Hey guys, Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Kiernan here with the next video in this series to help you become a better instructor. So we're just throwing out tips, techniques, tools that you can take with you to add to your tool bag and make you ultimately a better instructor and give you the wherewithal to provide for your student so that they can be better aviators for the Air Force, right? Today on the surface, I'll tell you on the surface, this topic probably isn't going to sound too exciting, and I'm not sure what the title of this video is that you clicked on, but what we're going to talk about is root cause analysis and debrief focus points. And like I said, on the surface, those titles don't sound very intriguing to me. But I will say that the more research I've done, the more I've gotten to dive into this topic, the more I am excited to share what I've learned. And I really think that if I can give this to you in my framework, if I can teach this to you with the framework that I've kind of developed here, I think that you might be able to bring something to the table with your next student and help them out. So let's dive right into root cause analysis and debrief focus points. So I've got a check engine light on in my truck right now, and now I'm smart and I've learned that I can get in my owner's manual and I can go menu, submenu, this, and turn off my check oil light, right? But the problem with that is 12 months from now, 18 months from now, I'm going to get a check engine light, which is a much bigger problem. Agreed? So all I need to do really, and this is very obvious, but just for argument's sake, is all I really need to do is put oil in the truck or get an oil change, right? And I see this analogy with our students a lot as we instruct, okay? We're not getting to the problem, the no kidding problem. So we see a check engine light as instructors with our students, and we're not saying, well, hey man, all I had to do was change the oil 12 months ago and that problem would have been fixed, right? We're not getting to the root of why our students are making the mistakes that they're making, or why they're not meeting the MIF tables that we've made for them, right? So I want us, as we go through this video today, to really think about this, and I would just write this down. Okay, write this down in your little notebook, write this down in your notes, write it down on a piece of paper, but know that the better we get at explaining the problems, the better we're going to be at finding smart solutions. So we need to be able to explain the problems that our students are making. We need to be able to get to the root cause of our students' mistakes to really be able to get that mindset, that change with them, so that they can go on and not make that mistake again. But the root is not just the check engine light, right? The root is, hey, I didn't change the oil 12 months ago, okay? So that's what we need to do with students is, hey, did they make a mistake with their airspeed control on final, or did they make a mistake with the checklist going through the JAI as a loadmaster? Well, was it just a checklist, or was it just airspeed control, or was it the fact that they didn't learn this information 12 months ago, right? So let's get to the big why. Why are they making the mistakes that they're making, and how can we as instructors kind of rewind the debrief and say, okay, yeah, you made this mistake, but why did you make this mistake? So that's a question I want you to ask the next time you go through your debrief with your student, or your pre-brief with your student even, is, hey, where are we, to start with, and then B, as part of the debrief, is how did we get to this mistake? Was it just a today thing? Or was it a 6 months ago thing where we didn't watch the CVT when we were up on the hill, and now that directly correlates to the mistake that we made in the plane? So let's talk about root cause analysis a little bit more, and to kind of give you my framework, or the way I think about root cause analysis, is I think about it as a root. So let's say, for example, we have a weed. If I imagine in my head the root structure of a weed, it's not just one singular weed going down into the earth, right? It's a complex system of weeds. And that's kind of how we have to think of our student errors, our student mistakes, or the reasons why students aren't meeting our objectives, okay? It's not just one singular cause. It's a complex issue, and it's a complex set of things that have led to this error, this mistake, or not meeting the myth, for example. And to just kind of dive into the root cause analysis, and the definition is, how do we get the root cause analysis? Well, first thing, it's kind of a 5-step process. First thing is to define the problem. Second thing, collect data. Third thing is to identify possible causes. Fourth is to identify root causes. And 5 things is to fix the problem. Okay, so that's great. I've just listed 5 things that we can do, and that's root cause analysis there. It's easy. Well, that was boring, right? Raise your hand if you were listening and you can list off the 5 things that I just said, right? No, it's silly. But if we think of it common sense wise, I think it makes sense, okay? Now, if you can now take this to the tabletop with your student and do these 5 things and say, okay, well, Lieutenant Colonel Kieran taught me these 5 things and they're not committed to memory, but I wrote them down, that might help you, but you're doing it already, okay? We know what the problem is, because when our students come back from a flight, we've taken copious notes, I'm sure, and we said, okay, here's where you messed up. Well, guess what? You just defined the problem, right? So the next thing is, so we collect data, right? Collect data. Well, you did that during your flight, okay? You said data point 1, data point 2, they messed this up, messed this up, messed this up. Here's why they messed it up, right? We've done that part as well. Now, here's where I think we are remiss, is identifying the possible causes and then getting to the root causes. So 2 separate steps. We're pretty good at identifying the cause. Why did you mess this up? Well, your airspeed control today was terrible. Why did you mess that up? Well, your throttle control was terrible. There, we solved the problem. Well, is that the problem? Because what we need to do is now get to the root cause of the problem. And that might not be that your throttle control is the problem. It might actually be, well, nobody ever talked to me that when I roll flaps to 100%, guess what? I need to go to flight idle and pitch my nose down to maintain that airspeed, right? So let's try and rewind a little bit to get to the root problem, to root cause, and say, well, why? Am I just taking a Band-Aid and covering up that check oil light? Am I just taking a Band-Aid and fixing that problem? Am I coming in on the throttles for my student or helping them with their heavy equipment checklist? No, we need to get to the root problem. Why did our student make this mistake? And how can we help them fix it, right? So, the moral of the story here, what I want to get at is, if we want to really help our students get better, if we want to really help our students with the problems that they're bringing to the table or the problems that they're having in flight, what we need to do is rewind. Take it back 1, 2, 3 flights, 1, 2, 3 months, and say, hey, why did you make this mistake really? What is the root cause of this mistake? Is it because you simply don't know? Is it because you never learned? Is it because you're not trying hard enough? Is it because you just don't have the eye-hand, this part of it? And different reasons for each student and each mistake. But let's try and rewind and get further back. Why? That's what root cause analysis is. And so now I want to talk about the DFP and how we can use that and root cause analysis integrated into DFP. Okay, so let's talk about the debrief focus points. And before we get really into it, and that's the thing, there's really not too much to get into, I want you to understand that this is just a tool to use as you're developing your skill set as an instructor during the debrief. So this is kind of one of the tool sets that I used as I started kind of coming up with my how-to on my debrief with my students. And you know, we've got the DFP guide, and I'll show that here in the slideshow, and kind of complicated, but I want to just dumb this down. I just want you to know that this is just the major points that need to be addressed where the mission failed to meet the objectives, okay? And so just keep it simple. When you're using the DFP, I don't want you to go into 18 different things that we're doing the DFP on. Maximum of 3 items that we're using the DFP for, okay? The big rocks that are issues with the flight today, okay? So talk about what went wrong, what were the contributing factors, what were the instructional fixes, rather, and then get to that root cause that we talked about it in a little bit earlier in the video. Identify the root cause. So again, just the big chunks of what we're looking to fix here, what we're looking to remedy from the flight, and then I'm going back and back and back to figure out that root cause. So there's just the big picture, DFP, root cause analysis, and then in the next video we're going to go into some exciting stuff about briefing and debriefing, the power of the brief and the debrief that I think you'll really like. So check it out.